You're not failing because you're weak. You're not failing because you lack willpower. You're failing because of one quiet, cancerous emotion, and that is shame. Shame is the silent weight that you carry every day. It's why you can go for 10 days clean and still feel like a fraud. It's why even when you do well, you don't feel proud of yourself. It's why you keep relapsing in the dark, wondering like, what the hell is wrong with me? Now let me break it down. Guilt says, I did something wrong. And shame says, I am something wrong. You feel that you are inherently broken. And when you start believing that you're the mistake, not the behavior, you stop fighting. You start hiding. You accept the lie that this is just who you are. That's why pornography has such a strong hold on you. Not because of the pleasure, but because shame has convinced you that there is no other place where you're safe from the pain of being you. You're living a double life, brother. On the surface, you're a man of ambition. You're professional, you're disciplined, maybe even spiritual. But behind the scenes, you're alone in the bathroom or your home office, jerking off to deal with the chaos of work and the stress of being a husband and father. The light of your phone or laptop reflecting off your face like the glow of a confessional booth that no priest can clean. You close the tabs. You swear this will be the last time. Then 48 hours later, you're back. Why? Because shame has made your identity the enemy. Because you've linked your behavior to your worth. So now, every mistake feels like confirmation that you're broken, dirty, addicted beyond saving. And brother, that is not rebooting. That's self-destruction in slow motion. So know this, shame doesn't make you stop watching pornography. It makes you hide your addiction better. And the more you hide, the more it grows. You pull away from friends. You keep secrets from your partner. You don't tell your coach the full story. You smile in public, but you feel so small, so dirty, so fake and fraudulent on the inside. It's killing you, and not just emotionally, physically, spiritually. Now, you may be religious or kinda religious. You pray and beg God for help, but secretly you think God's disgusted with you too. And let me tell you something, God isn't ashamed of you. You are. And that shame is what's driving your behavior. Not lust, not boredom, but shame. And if you want to reboot for real, you have to break this cycle. So how do we do this? Well, let me give it to you straight, step by step. Number one is call it what it is. Let's stop playing games. You're not struggling a little bit. You're not trying your best. You're not dealing with a habit. It's not a little dependence on pornography. You are ashamed. And that shame is not just some background feeling. It's the invisible leash around your neck that yanks you back every time you try to move forward. It's the voice in your head that's whispering, "You'll never beat this. Not someone like you." Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked in the mirror after a relapse and you've just felt hollow, like there's no one worth saving staring back? Well, that's shame. Have you ever felt the need to lie to your accountability partner or your partner or soften the truth about how bad it really got this time? Well, that's shame. You might think it's pride, but it's shame. Have you ever hesitated to speak up in your group because you thought your story was too messed up or your urges were too dark or your past is too shameful? Well, that's shame, brother. And the sick part is, shame convinces you that it's safer to stay quiet, to keep it to yourself, to pretend that you're doing better, even as your insides collapse. But silence is where shame grows strongest. It thrives in the dark. It feeds off your secrets. It multiplies every time you choose to manage your image instead of speak your truth. If you want freedom, real lasting freedom, the first step is brutal honesty. Say it out loud. I feel ashamed of who I've become. Write it in your journal. Speak it to your coach. Whisper it to yourself if you have to. But say it. Because that moment, that raw, trembling, terrifying moment when you tell the truth, that's when shame begins to lose its power. That's when you take your first real step towards healing. Brother, I'm not saying that it'll feel good. I'm saying that it will feel true. And truth is what will set you free. You can't fix what you won't face. You can't heal what you won't name. So name it. Call it what it is. And then we begin. The second thing, separate shame from sin. Now, in a religious context, sin translates to hamartia in Greek, which means to miss the mark, a mistake, an error, or a tragic flaw. Not a permanent situation, but this right here, this is one of the most critical turning points in your reboots, because as long as you confuse what you did with who you are, you will stay the same. So let me break it down. Guilt says, I did something wrong. That wasn't me at my best. I can change this. And shame says, I am something wrong. This is me, and I'll never change. One of those voices points to growth. The other one points to a grave. Shame is a liar, and it's one of the most convincing ones that you'll ever hear. It doesn't show up screaming, it whispers. After a relapse, it doesn't just say, you slipped, it is what it is. It says, see, this is who you are, a fraud, a pervert, a failure. And if you let it, shame will hardwire itself into your identity until you can't even picture yourself as a man who's clean, who's strong, and who is in control. But you are not your past. You are not the videos you watched, the women you objectified, the lies you told, or the days that you threw away. You are not the sexting with other women behind your partner's back, the affairs, the escorts, or the personality you portray in your secret apps. You're not the man from your worst moment. You're the man who stands up now, reading this and says, this isn't who I want to be. This is not me. I want to change. And brother, that decision right here, that desire to grow already separates you from the version of yourself that acted out. That's not who you are. That's who you were when you were scared, numb, lonely, triggered, and didn't even know a better way. Shame tells you that your sin defines you. And I'm telling you, your choices can be forgiven. Your identity can be rebuilt. And no, it won't happen overnight. And yes, it will require work, deep, emotional, honest work. But it's possible. I've walked that path myself. So have hundreds of men in our Reboot intensive program. But none of us could begin until we made that shift. What I did was wrong, but that doesn't mean that I am wrong, that my existence is wrong. That one belief, that's the difference between a man who keeps relapsing in secret and a man who takes his power back, who owns his story and rewrites his future. You made a mistake, but you are not a mistake. So let that truth sink in, and then take the next step. The third is stop looking for forgiveness and start offering it. Let's get real, okay? You've already asked for forgiveness, okay, over and over again. You've dropped to your knees, you've cried out to God, you've sworn that this was going to be the last time. You've made promises you didn't keep, and maybe deep down, you're still hoping that there's one more really deep prayer, one more fast, one more tear that will finally wipe the slate clean. But here's what no one ever told you. You're not stuck because God hasn't forgiven you. You're simply stuck because you haven't forgiven yourself. You're the one carrying the guilt like a shackle. You're the one beating yourself up after your relapse is over, long after it's over. You're the one who's keeping the wound open. Not to punish yourself, but just because you think you deserve the pain. And that's the real tragedy. Because somewhere along the way, you decided that compassion was for other people, not for men like you. Men who've watched things that they can't unsee. Men who've lied to their partners for years. Men who've swore that they would change but didn't. But let me tell you something that you need to hear. You don't heal through punishment. You heal through grace. That grace has to come from you, not just from God, not from a priest, not from your accountability partner, but from here, right here, from you. You have to be the one who looks in the mirror, bloodshot eyes, dark circles, regrets in both hands, and says, I forgive you. Not because you didn't mess up. I forgive you because you've carried this pain long enough, because you were trying to survive. because you didn't know better, because you're finally ready to choose something different. Write it if you have to. Say it aloud in a whisper. Cry through it. Shake through it, but do it. I forgive myself for not knowing better, for using porn when I felt scared, numb, angry, for abandoning myself when I needed compassion the most. This is the moment that you stop waiting for permission to heal. This is the moment where you take your power back. Because the truth is, no amount of shame will make you worthy, and no amount of guilt will make you pure. But forgiveness, self-forgiveness, that's the starting point of wholeness. You don't need to keep proving you deserve a second chance. You need to start living like a man who already has one. The fourth, get in a room where shame can't survive. So let me tell you something that might sting. You can't beat shame by yourself. You can't think your way out of it, and you can't white knuckle through it. You sure as hell can't just pray harder and hope it goes away. Shame thrives in isolation, and you've been isolated for far too long. Maybe you've got people around you, friends, coworkers, a wife, but none of them really know what you're carrying, and that's the problem. Because as long as you are alone with your shame, it has room to whisper every lie that you've come to believe. No one would love me if they knew who I was. I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm too far gone to be helped. I guess this is just who I am. But what if, for once, you walked into a room, shared your darkest truth, and instead of disgust or distance, you heard, "Me too, brother. Now let's get to work." That's what happens in the Porn Reboot Intensive. We don't offer judgments. We don't care about your streaks. I've been off pornography for 7, whatever, right? We don't pretend to be saints. We offer something a hell of a lot more powerful, and that is real connection. Men who have been where you are and refuse to stay there. Men who know the shame of relapse and have the strength that it takes to rise again. Men who have learned that healing isn't about image, it's about honesty. This is the room where shame dies, because shame only survives in silence. But the second that it's met with empathy, with a brother who listens, nods, and doesn't flinch, it begins to unravel. Brené Brown said it best, that shame cannot survive empathy. And I'll take it one step further. Shame cannot survive the light of brotherhood. If you've never sat in a room and said, "That is what I've done," and had another man look at you in the eye and say, "I see you. Listen, man, I did the same or worse, and I'm okay. You're going to be okay too," and have other men nod, then brother, you haven't experienced what real healing feels like. You don't need another app to quit porn or blocker. You don't need another YouTube sermon. You don't need another streak tracking tool. You don't need a therapist who you suspect doesn't really understand your pain. You need a place where you can speak your shame and not be destroyed by it. That's what we've built. That's what's waiting for you. So stop hiding. Step into the room where shame ends and your new life begins. The fifth is reconnect with the man you're meant to be. Let's tell the truth, okay? Porn didn't just waste your time. It actually stole your identity. It disconnected you from the man that you used to be and the man you're still meant to become, your higher self. Maybe you used to be full of purpose. Maybe you had a fire in your belly, a mission, a vision. Maybe you used to look people in the eye with integrity and pride. But now, now you flinch at your own reflection internally. You walk into rooms hoping not to be seen or noticed. You smile in public and loathe yourself in private. You've forgotten who you are. But worse, you've stopped believing that you could ever be that man again. But let me tell you something. That man isn't gone. He's just buried under years of shame, buried under secrecy, buried under the numbing weight of every relapse that you've ever wanted to talk about. And it's time to dig him out, because that man is the beginning of the real you. He's still there. He's the one who wants to lead with confidence. He's the one who wants to hold his future wife without guilt in his eyes. He's the one who wants to protect and provide. not just materially, but emotionally and spiritually. He's the one who wants to look his kids in the eye and say, I built this family up with truth, with love, and strength. He wants to feel that. So ask yourself, who do I want to be for my future partner, my future wife? Perhaps a man she can trust, a man who knows how to be present, a man who doesn't flinch when she touches him because his body doesn't belong to a screen anymore. What kind of father, brother, or friend do I want to be? Perhaps it's one who shows up, one who tells the truth, one who leads from the front, not from behind closed doors. What choices am I making today that align with that man? Not the man who's just trying to not relapse, but the man who is becoming more grounded, more honest, and more whole every day. That's the real work of rebooting, not counting streaks, not just avoiding temptation using willpower, but defining your reboot, becoming the man you were always meant to be. And that version of you, listen, he is not afraid of connection. He doesn't run from intimacy. He doesn't wear shame like a second skin. He leads, he loves, he lives with purpose. And that's where your reboot lives, brother. Not in apps, not in filters, not in punishment, but in remembering who you are and rising up to become him. So go back and find him. Call him back to the surface. Start acting like he's already here, because he is. And the moment you start living like that man again, the hold that pornography has over you will never be the same. Now let me be real with you yet again. There are a lot of programs out there that want to slap a Bible verse or a dopamine chart on your forehead and call it healing. They offer accountability with a side of shame. They tell you to man up and just quit. But how's that worked out for you? They tell you that you don't have a purpose, and that's the reason why you turn to pornography. The truth is, you don't need more guilt. You don't need a digital chastity belt. And you sure as hell don't need another pastor pretending like he's never struggled. You need someone who's been there and knows the way out. You need emotional tools. You need a roadmap. You need a brotherhood of men, humans with faults. That's what you get in our Reboot Intensive program. We don't play around, we get results because we go deep. Now you've carried shame for long enough. It's kept you silent, small, ashamed. And now it's time to fight back. Not just for yourself, but for the relationship you're sabotaging, the purpose you're ignoring, and the peace that you've been craving for years. So schedule a call with us today. Let's shatter that cycle. Let's rebuild your life. Let's set the real you, the healed you, free. You're not broken, you're healing. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.